What's up, everybody? April 17th edition of the Fightful MMA podcast. We do apologize for everybody who was patiently waiting to join us live. We did have some technical issues that some way, somehow, we went back and forth, and it was the Predator, Patrick Cote, the IT man in the world of mixed martial arts, who was able to find out the issue and fix the issue, and we are now live. We are happy to have Patrick Cote joining us, fresh off his retirement in mixed martial arts. Now, make sure, before we get Patrick on the screen, you do give him a follow on Twitter, Patrick_Cote. On Instagram, it's Pat Cote MMA. Yours truly, at Showdown Joe, and of course, at Fightful MMA and FightfulMMA.com for all your mixed martial arts news. First things first, Patrick, what's going on, my man?
Everything's good, man. I feel happy. I feel relieved. I feel free. Everything is good, and I'm really in peace with that decision. I was thinking about it since a couple of months, and man, I'm very happy now.
So you say it was a couple of months, and then whenever I hear that, I kind of get nervous because you still have the training camp to go through. What was that like, knowing that potentially, this is going to be my final fight? How was that training camp leading up to it?
That wasn't at the beginning of the training camp. I just before the training camp, I signed a new 4-fight deals, so it's kind of crazy. But during all the training camp, it was hell. Seriously, I had 2 big injuries in my back and my neck. I have an hernia in my back, in my neck since a couple of years now. So, and I snapped it during my training camp, and that was very, very painful. And one day I woke up and I was like, man, I'm very tired to get, having pain every day. And I'm doing that for last 15 years. And maybe a month and a half before the fight, I was thinking about it. And I always said to myself that if one day I wake up and I don't want to go to the gym, in 100%, mentally prepare, and I'm just doubt about if I want to go train that day or not, it's going to be the time for me just to maybe walk away, because it's too dangerous in that sport if you don't train 100%. And it did happen to me a couple of times in that training camp, that I was tired. Maybe the motivation wasn't there, like before. And I was like, okay, man, that's okay. It's going to be my last fight, but I'm going to keep that for me. I'm not going to say that to anybody, even my wife, even my best friend, even anybody knew about it. Because I wanted to leave that moment only for myself. The last walking, the last introduction by Bruce Buffer, the last weight cut, the last fight week. And I was able to do that very selfish way. Just, I was owning that to myself. That's what I think. And after 15 years, and I knew it, in every step of that fight week, that will be my last thing that I will do it to prepare for a fight. And that's why I think I did enjoy it so much, because there was nobody else was talking about me, about the last fight, about how I felt. So I'm like, and that's exactly what I wanted.
I know people might say that it's selfish. I'll call bullshit on that. I think you deserve it after everything that you've done for this sport, being a Canadian mixed martial arts pioneer. I mean, you and I go way back to the days I don't know if it was UCC or TKO with Jan Pellerin.
First TKO fight. Me, yeah.
Okay, so that was TKO. So when we go back, you were light heavyweight at the time when you fought Jan Pellerin. So we go way back. So I think you perfectly deserve whatever you want to do and did for your mixed martial arts career. People could say selfish or greedy. It's all about you, man. You're the one that steps into the octagon. You and I could talk about Fabio Holanda and the wives and the kids as much as we want. You're the one stepping in there.
Yeah, and I did realize that, because before, a lot of fighters, they say that, oh, I'm sorry, coach, I didn't win or something like that. But at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about if you win or lose, because, your best friend and coach, and if you're there for the good reason, win or lose, they're always still there. So it's at the end of the day, Fabio told me that, you know what, you go there, you win, you lose. For me, I don't give a shit. Seriously, you're doing that for yourself, and exactly the same thing when in your life when you do a training for a fight. You have to be very selfish, because it's hard, and it's you is gonna be inside the octagon, and you're gonna receive punch, and you're gonna make sacrifice about the diet and the weight cut. And I did realize that maybe after 12 or 13 years in that business. But for the last couple of years, I was, during training camp and all those things, I was very, very selfish. And I don't regret that at all. And I found the perfect partner as my wife, that she did understand that very well. And she wasn't angry at all that I didn't tell her that that will be my last fight. We spoke about it, a couple of months before, especially after my fight against Cerrone. But she knew it, that it will be happen soon, but maybe not that soon.
Well, that's okay, man. Listen, I would much rather you walk away from the sport healthy and okay. Because listen, man, the reality is this: it's no different than football.
Yep.
No different sometimes in hockey. There's punches to the head. It's not ping pong. There is trauma, and if you can get out at the right time, and now you're a dad. That's a game changer. I tell people all the time, they don't believe you until you have your first kid, and you realize once you're a dad, the game changes.
The game changed, and you know what? In my last two fights, there's something happened in that didn't happen in the last 15 years. I got dropped. I got dropped by Cerrone. I got dropped by Thiago Alves. And you have to be smarter than the sport too. You have to put your pride, on the side and just realize that, fuck, man, I'm old now. You know what? 15 years of that business. My body is tired. I can't see the shot coming like before. I lost the speed. I lost like the reaction time that I had it like a couple of years ago. That, yes, my shin always saved me. But if I can't see the punch coming, it's hard for me to stay on my feet. You know what I mean? I can't prepare to receive a punch. And that's exactly what happened in my last two fights. And you know what? I did prepare my exit with the last couple of years. So that was easier for me to realize that, okay, it's too dangerous now for me to do that sport, because you know what? It's dangerous. We punch each other. We try to kill each other and not kill, but you know what I mean? It's war when two guys are inside the octagon. And if I can't compete at that level anymore and it's too dangerous for me, I can't see why putting my body through all those sacrifices and weight cut and all those things in the training camp. It's very, very hard. So, and I have a lot of things outside the fighting business. So I was smart enough to prepare my exit. And I think I was smart enough to leave on my own term. Even if I sign a new 4-fight deal, it doesn't matter. For me, like you said, my health, it's more important than my pride.
Listen, man, I've had some great quotes thrown my way in my years in mixed martial arts. You just nailed one. I'm going to put it up there with what George St. Pierre once told me when he fought BJ Penn the second time, when I said, George, there's a genuine concern for you from a lot of fans, media, fighters, that you're fighting BJ Penn, that you're going to have a hard time in this fight. And he leaned over to me, and we're both sitting on medicine balls at TriStar, and he leaned over to me, and he was pissed. He looked me in the eye. He said, I do not go to the octagon to survive. I go there to hunt. What you just said to me right now about retiring, it's simple. And I'm never going to forget this now. I'm going to freaking tweet it out right now so people can come in and tune into the show. As a fighter, you just said you have to be smarter than the sport.
Yep.
It's that simple.
It is.
When it comes to the end of your career and you need to know, you realize what's going on, you have to be smarter than the sport. Dude, that is freaking genius right there.
You know what? The worst thing you can do is the fight that you're not supposed to do. You know what? The one too many that you think that you still got it and you still, maybe one more. And people always remember you as your last performance, something like that. Even if I lost my last fight, I'm really happy about the performance, because I was giving, a show and a war until the end. And that's exactly what I did in my last 15 years of my career. That's what I tried, actually. So, you know what? That was the perfect way to leave. And, that's, I always say the same thing since a couple of years too, that I didn't want it to fight the fight that I wasn't supposed to. And there's a lot of guys in that business that push the luck all the time, and it's getting dangerous. They got knocked down, they're coming back, and they just can't stop. But at the end of the day, they're gonna pay the price later for sure.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're tuned in live right now, we do have the live chat on the upper right-hand side of your screen. Feel free to give us your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions, your questions to Patrick and myself. Make sure you do follow Patrick online, Patrick_Cote on Twitter, Pat Cote MMA on Instagram. Pat, what's your Facebook? Patrick Cote?
Yeah, it's Patrick Cote. You have the little check, the blue check.
That's it. Make sure you have the blue check mark.
Yeah.
Exactly. Roy Soria says, "What's up, Showdown? What's up, Roy?" Make sure you say what's up to Pat, man. That's why we're here, man. Pat's going to be joining me every Monday with the exception of next week. The guy starts with Fightful MMA today. He's already on vacation next week, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves it,
man. First vacation with my family, and first vacation with the kid too, and it's gonna be fun. And I honed that to my wife too. I wasn't turning camp since almost January, so you know what? The people don't realize that too, Joe. It's hard for the fighter to be on training camp, but it's hard for the family too. It's hard for friends around because there's diet involved, training 2-3 times a day involved too. You're not home very often, and you're not always in a good mood too. Especially with the diet and all those things. You're sure. All the time the pain, and you know what? It's hard for the fighter, but it's really really hard for the family. And at the end of the day, you have to take care of that when you have time off.
Absolutely. We got some questions here. Nicholas Claudio, actually before that, big nephew 87. Yo, what's up, guys? How are you? Sorry, dropping some funniness there. But Nicholas Claudio wants to know, Cote, please talk us through what it was like fighting Anderson Silva. That's a fair question because at the time, Anderson Silva, you got a chance to not only fight him, Tito Ortiz, but Anderson Silva was, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and you were in there. I was there in Chicago for that fight there. What was that like?
Complicated. That's the only word I can use. It was very, very complicated. This guy was like a water. It was like I was going forward. It was on my back. I was going on this side. It was going on the other side. That was at the same time, that was the best moment of my career. Even if I lost and I got bad luck and bad time, but in our head, we didn't want to show that, and we weren't scared of him. But we saw that in this last couple of fights that all the fighters who fought him, they were already lost before. They were so scared of that guy, and I went there and I said, "Hey, worst case scenario is going to knock me out and I will not remember it." So that was our mentality going through that fight. And I wanted just to push the pace and show him that, I will take the center of the cage and just push him and exchange toe-to-toe with him. I wasn't scared. He's not hitting very hard, but he's insanely accurate. So that's the thing too, and he's very good with the movement, with the distance. It's really hard to hit too. That was at that time. You remember, Joe? It was one of the best of the history. He was at the top of his game. He was so good, and but it's bittersweet a little bit. I had an injury in the third round, but I was the first one to go in the third round with the Anderson Silva in the UFC. So I was happy. But when I started the third round, I knew that my knee was down. My knee was out. It did happen in the middle of the second round, and between this round, I said there was Mark De La Grotte and Fabio in my corner at that time, and I said, "Man, my knee's fucked up. My knee is over." And I felt that it was dislocated a little bit all the time. And he said, "What do you want to do? We're gonna throw the towel or something like that?" I said, "No, I'm gonna try to Hail Mary or something like that." And when I put more weight on my right leg, I felt that my knee and my shin went side by side, and that was over. So that was and I received a lot of critique after that fight that I was faking and stuff like that. But I was out for a year and a half, so come on, give me a break. I wasn't faking for a year and a half.
People are still thinking TJ Grant is faking his concussions.
Exactly.
Right? Like, let's be honest for a second. That guy had a title fight in Milwaukee set, and people, the UFC, this was a scam by the UFC, blah, blah, blah. And dude, fighters get injured all the time. Sometimes you guys show up there at 50%, 40% to fight. So people don't realize that. Looking back at your career, I know it's fresh. It's only been a week or so. When you look back at your career as a legacy, and this changes because I know it happens to me. People always ask me, what was the highlight of your career so far? Well, I can tell you, Patrick Cote and I sitting in Las Vegas, drinking some pops and just having a good time talking about whatever. But then tomorrow it'll be the one time with George St. Pierre, or that one time with Anderson Silva. Life changes. There's always things. But right now, it's only been about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Looking back at your career, what are some of your highlights? What are some of your lowlights? What are some of that you were like, what an idiot I am? Or, you know what? No, I did good there.
There's so many memories in the last 15 years. I've been in the UFC for 13 years. And I think, you know what, my best memories, it's when I joined the UFC. I don't think you can join a company bigger than how I did. Fighting the main event of my first fight in the UFC only after 5 fights. In my pro career, against the poster boy at that time, against the guy who were my screensaver. I was calling my dog Tito at that time too, because he was like one of my idol, and and I made my name with that fight. And it's always, crazy what I said about it, but losing that fight, it's probably the best thing happened to me. Losing like that, not getting really murdered, but losing like that was the best thing happened to me. And I'm here today. I'm living that life today because we got the guts and we got the balls to accept that fight. We were probably the last one to ask, to fight Tito Ortiz at that time. I was a nobody, and everybody else probably said no, and we were like, yeah, why not? Hey, we'll go. And I made my name with that fight. I lost the fight, but I always say that I won the night for sure. And after that, everybody knew it, who I was. And even after 13 years, Joe, when they did the video to introduce myself for the next fight, there's always a little part that they remember everybody this fight against Tito Ortiz. So this fight, it's stick on me for forever. And I had a title fight. I coached tough. I wasn't tough. That was all crazy experience. But I think my best memory for sure, it's my first fight in the UFC.
What about something? Was there ever a time, you might say Anderson Silva, you might say Tito Ortiz, you might not say anybody, but was there ever a time after you realized that you were fighting, like you were offered somebody, and then you said yes, and then when you were all alone, you're like, I don't think that was a good idea?
No, because I never chose any of my opponent. I knew it at that time that maybe style, I was more unidimensional fighter. I was more a stand-up guy. So I knew it that when I fought for the final of Top 4 against Travis Lutter, I knew it that, stylistically it will be very, very hard. And, that's exactly what happened. He submitted me in the first round in couple seconds, maybe after 1 minute. And, the worst thing that he did exactly what he will do it. That's the worst thing in the video before. So I took that very, 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 very hard. But no, like I said, the only thing that's funny, because me and Fabio were on the same page on that. The only thing that if we had to choose between anybody else and a Russian, we're going to take anybody else. We didn't want to fight a Russian because it's, they have no feelings. They're tough. They're strong like a rock. It's very hard, to know and to feel it, what happened during a fight about those guys. So I never fought any Russian, and that was our plan, actually.
It's amazing you never fought a Russian because, yeah, well, they could be some like cyborgs, man. There's some tough dudes. Look at Nurmagomedov. That guy is an absolute destroyer. I mean, don't take this wrong, anyone listening out there. I know it's Ramadan right now, but from a mixed martial arts perspective, doesn't Ramadan start yet? But I know he's going to be missing in action because of Ramadan. But my goodness, what I would love to see some way, somehow, a Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson fight, because that right there was my fight of 2017, along with, I'm really looking forward to Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw. Yeah. But yeah, the Russians, like you said, look at Fedor. How stoic is Fedor? Doesn't matter. He never looks his opponents in the eyes until he gets, even when they do the stare down before a fight, he won't look them until the announcer announces the names. Then he looks at them.
And they're so cold, man. It's so cold, and it's just like, man, okay, I don't want to jump in with you in there.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, your transition or your start in mixed martial arts is almost a typical Canadian one. If I'm not mistaken, was it born from hockey
Sorry, what?
or and then you moved over to MMA,
I'm
or
sorry, I
was it
didn't.
boxing to MMA? Yeah, no problem. In
Boxing,
terms of
boxing to
you,
MMA. Yeah.
okay, did you play hockey as well when you were younger?
Not really. I play soccer. I play soccer on a very high level. I play for the Quebec team. I played 2 years for the junior national team too. So I was more a soccer player than the hockey. You know, I'm a big fan of hockey. You know, I can shoot, but I can't skate. You know, I have a really hard time to skate, and it's kind of shy to say as a Canadian that you know you're not good on your skate, but it is what it is.
Hey, listen, man, that's two of us because I've got a great. I shoot right and I can pick corners on the ice. Don't ask me to skate. That's why I don't go on the ice with Sean
Right.
Pearson because Pearson's a legit hockey
Yeah,
player. Like he's legit. So I don't want to
I
go on the
heard
ice with
about it.
him. But you and I can just. Yeah, he's a bad man. And of course, Pearson has no problem dropping the gloves if somebody wants to be a tough guy on the ice. He'll be more than happy. Not anymore. You know, he's getting older. He's a dad now as well. So you were boxing beforehand, and then you realized you could transition to MMA.
Yeah,
How and when and why?
that was around 190, 1998. Oh, man, that's a long time ago. 1998. I was in Quebec City, and I found a team that was Team Union, and the head coach was Philippe Lagacé, who fought for TKO too. And I started doing jiu-jitsu, and you know, I fell in love with the jiu-jitsu after that. A little bit of wrestling, and you know, I wanted to be a boxer, but that was very hard, you know, to just to find fights and something like that. And when I discovered the jiu-jitsu and all those things, I just fell in love with the sport. And I called you know, an organization, an amateur organization, and I said, hey, I want to jump in, let's do it. And I was a little bit cocky at that time. You know, I thought that it would be very easy. You know, I thought I was like, hey, I'm a tough guy, you know, I'll do it. And I lost my first amateur fight very, very badly, you know. And it's, you know, that's another thing. It's probably the best thing happened to me, you know, because it put my feet back to down to hurt. And you know, I just realized that, okay, if you want to have success or just having fun in that business, you must train very very hard and more seriously.
Yeah, of course. I mean, people mixed martial arts will humble you very, very quick. I grew up in a part of Toronto where I was always involved in in street fights, and I thought I was a tough guy when I started training at certain gyms. And as I got better in the gyms, I started realizing there's better guys than me. And then you quickly get humbled. And when you realize, it
Yep.
took me a while to realize because I wanted to fight pro back in the '90s, but when you realize if you can't beat up the guys in your own gym, how do you plan on beating up guys or fighting guys outside of your gym? And I quickly realized that no matter how much of a tough guy I'm out there, when I'm in the gym, you get humbled. I mean, you remember Richard Nanku, Monkey,
Sure.
back in the day, Justin Bruckman, Antonio Carvalho. I was double their size. I was definitely double Monkey size. And he was 120 pounds, 125 pounds, soaking wet. And he would whoop me. And I
Yep.
would tell people all the time, you can say whatever you want about Demetrius Johnson, whatever you want. You want to step into a cage with him, he'll whoop your ass. And he proved it again on Saturday night that this guy, it's unfortunately we're in a sport, Patrick, where people are always thinking bigger is better.
Yeah.
Bigger is better. But now we're talking about a guy who potentially can go down as the greatest of all time. Now, I haven't put enough thought into it and really looked at it and say, okay, is he better than George? Is he better than Anderson Silva? Is he better than John Jones? I'll probably do that later on tonight, if not tomorrow. I'll write an article about it on Fightful MMA. But Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, if there was ever a perfect mixed martial artist who can combine everything and
Yes.
everything together, that's him.
Yeah, you're right. It's the perfect prototype if you want to explain what is an MMA fighter, you know, to somebody who don't understand, who don't know the sport. If you want to explain, you know, I'm gonna tell you what is the best, you know, prototype of MMA fighter that is good on the ground, is good in wrestling, is fast, he has a great boxing, he can fight, you know, southpaw or orthodox. It's just amazing. And you know, you're right. You know, he's victim of his weight class. That's the thing. You know, if the guy was a welterweight or a light heavyweight, it would be freaking millionaires today. Maybe he is, but he will be more millionaire. You know, I'm sure of that. And it's too bad. And now it's start to understand the business a little bit about being more vocal, maybe talking a little bit more, not trash talking, but trying to sell him more with his mouth than with his performance, because everybody know that skills wise is the best pound for pound in the world. No, that's no doubt about it. And but you know what, you're right, it's not because you're the best in the cage that people would buy tickets to see you. And that's his biggest problem now, that he's fighting at 125, and it's very hard to sell.
Are you surprised now? I mean, the game has changed so much since when you came onto the scene to where it is right now. You got Elias, every Wednesday here or every Tuesday here at 3:00 when we do the podcast, constantly referring to it as the UFC being a content provider. It's sports, it's not sports, excuse me, it's sports entertainment. You got Sean Pearson saying the same thing. It's all about entertainment. It goes past just the fighting. You can fight all you want. If you can't sell, you can't talk, you don't have some sort of personality, it ain't going to help you. Frank Triggs here on Thursdays, he gets it. He calls the rankings a gimmick now, and no one believes in the rankings anymore because no one's fighting anyone in a proper manner. If you can't talk, you can't sell. And I talked to the same card. You were here, and I think it was who was next to you at the UFC 210? Was it Mousasi?
Yep.
No, it was actually Pearl.
Pearl,
yeah, it was Pearl Gonzalez. Yeah. Yes, and then hey, don't. Pearl Gonzalez. Okay? Don't get me in trouble. Don't get me in trouble. So it's Patrick, Pearl Gonzalez, and then Mousasi. And I asked Mousasi the same thing. I said, dude, you've always been quiet and calm. And he's like, F that. Not anymore. I don't care anymore. If I got to dye my hair blonde, I got to do this, got to do that, got to sell, F this, screw Bisping, and blah, blah. And he's like, this is the only way I'm going to get my title shot. So the game has changed. So with Mighty Mouse Johnson, you take a look, and I mentioned this to Sean Ross Sapp, who's our managing editor, after the event, Patrick. People didn't realize when Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson started thanking his sponsors.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, me too. I was like, all right, okay, this guy just don't give a shit anymore. And I heard that, and I was like, man, okay, because I was describing the fights. I always do that in French, and I watched my co-host and was like, man, he just did that. He just said thanks to his sponsor, and but you know what? It is what it is. And when you are Demetrius Johnson, you know that you have power. He has power. He just tie one of the best of the history of Anderson Silva as the defending his belt with success with 10. That's just insane. And you know what? A lot of people say, yeah, no, but maybe the flyweight division it's not that strong. So like, hey, the flyweight division is very, very good. It's just because Demetrius Johnson is better. That's the thing. That's the best flyweight fighters in the world is going there, and they're just stuck in the second position because Demetrius Johnson is too good, and that's the only thing too that doesn't have the credit that he's supposed to have, because every fight is doing it's look easy, and is it his fault? Yes, but at the same time, he's too good, man. He's fine. Benavidez, Henry Cejudo, an Olympic champion in wrestling, he wasn't able to take him down. That's just insane. And you said that the game changed. I don't know if the game changed. I think people understand more the game, because I don't know if you remember that, but at the beginning, the UFC, when they start, the first idea of the UFC was to put like crocodile around the octagon and in the water, and that was an entertaining business at the beginning. They understand that was like nonsense. That was really, really stupid doing that. But at the beginning, that was just to put more money in the pocket. Tito Ortiz was the first one to understand that game very well, by trash talking the opponent, trash talking the boss, with trash talking Dana White. So I think it was always like that, but on the lower level, and that was more like a unique person that was able to doing that. But now we know how much the new owners paid for the company, so now they know that they have a lot of money and all those things. And those guys like Conor McGregor changed the game too. And and now the salary is public too, so we know exactly how much he's making. And people can compare, champion can compare with the other champion how much they're making. And that's how the game changed. But selling yourself and doing all those things, I think that was always there. That was just less fighters that were bright to doing that. Now you have to do it because it's more popular and all those things. And although people is watching that, and you want people in the stands, but it is what it is now. It's money talk, and it's money talk before the performance of the athlete inside the octagon. I think so.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're listening in live right now, make sure you hit us up on the live chat on the top right of your screen. Carlos Toro, a member of Fightful MMA, says, woke up this morning, didn't expect Patrick Cote to be on this podcast. Welcome to the team, Patrick. Much respect to you and your career. Guys,
thanks,
ladies, yeah, of course. Carlos is a good guy. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, you have anything to say, questions, comments, concerns, put it up there right now. Patrick and I will continue to talk about what went down, what's going on with the sport, what happened with his career. He'll be joining us every Monday here, 10 a.m. Eastern. And as Patrick knows, hey, Patrick, don't get fat on me. We talked about this.
I know.
You better keep working out. I work out every morning. I expect you to work out, no?
No, I'm retired, but I'm still working on TV, so I have to keep my I have to stay in shape. And one of my best friend is my nutritionist, so he's not gonna let me go, on the dark side. So for the first 2-3 weeks, I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna enjoy the good food, good wine. But I'm going to get back in shape for sure for the summer. I have a brand new pool, so I have to be in shape.
Nice.
That's the thing.
Very nice. Yeah, exactly. People come over, you still got to look good. Yes. Exactly. You're going on vacation. I just came back from Mexico. Where are you
going? Exactly. I'm going to Cancun, yeah.
Going to Mexico? Oh, Cancun. Yeah. Be careful.
Why?
Cancun's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's awesome. For sure.
Just saying. I noticed one thing on your, I don't know if it was your Instagram or your Twitter. It mentioned that you're a surfer.
Yes.
I didn't know you surfed.
I surf. I'm more a wakeboard surfer than a surfer in the free water. I have a wakeboard boat. I have an Axis, Rican Edition. I did some business with them a couple of years ago, and I'm still close to them. And I'm doing a lot of, if I don't play golf in the summer, I'm on the water on my boat. I can live 24 hours on water. This is my thing. I always had boat in my life. I'm not a car guy. I don't like motorcycle. I don't like plane, but you know what I mean? It's, my toy, it's boat since forever. And, I think this is the best place to be on the water and just chill out, doing some wake surf, chill out with friends. That's, for me, it's even.
I got you. That was the same thing for me. I talked about it earlier in the show, how it's a game changer when you have a child. The minute my son was born, I started thinking about, got to sell this motorcycle. I loved being a motorcycle owner. I loved riding. I loved the peace because there was no phone. There was no one to talk to me. There was no one to disturb me. I could clear my mind. But then I realized that there are drivers out there that don't seem to understand the concept that I'm riding a motorcycle and there's nothing around me to save me if you hit me. So I decided I'm selling a motorcycle and I got myself a jet ski. And I'm out there. It's a Yamaha Wave Runner. I try and get out as much as I can over the summer. Unfortunately, I've never wakeboarded. I'm too scared to do that. But I did surf when I was in Mexico. I keep pointing to my left, ladies and gentlemen. I have a vision board there, and I really believe in vision boards. There's a picture of the actuals. I don't know what they're called. There's the machines that you could surf on. The water comes up, right? And so I did that. Unfortunately, people that follow me on Instagram realized not only did I get whiplash on my third fall, I then got a concussion on my seventh fall. But I stayed there the whole time, to the point, Patrick, where the Latino instructors were like, "Who are you?" Like, most people fall once hard and they're gone. You're still here. Yeah, and I said, "You don't know who I am. Trust me, I can take a lot of pain. I'm good." And by the end of it, I was surfing. I was doing really good. They're like, "You need to go on that side because this is for the beginners." been a beginner for half an hour. They're like, no,
Not
you can go over
anymore.
there, and they taught me how to do it myself. But I absolutely, like you said, love being on the water. Again, it's one of those things where it's just you're with nature, man. It's so
Ah,
important. People don't realize the importance of nature.
exactly. It's so in peace when you're there, and so I like to go, late at night or very more early in the morning. There's nobody on the water. It's just a peace place for me, and during the day we just a lot of friends coming with me, and we just chill out. I have a little barbecue, too. So we eat on that. It's for me. It's the happy place for me. It's the top of the happy place to be on my boat.
My worst thing is backing up the trailer into the water. I'm the king. I'm the worst at hitting something. Heck, when I back up my jet ski into my driveway, into the garage, I hit my house a few times. I'm an
Okay. No,
idiot.
I'm pretty good on that. So if you need some tricks, we're gonna chat about it.
Well, speaking of tricks, you're also a pretty damn good poker player. And you were giving me tips one time, whether depending on where you're sitting, if you're small blind, big blind,
Yeah.
what happens with the river, stuff like that. You still playing poker? And is that something you'd probably want to do a bit more?
Yeah, for sure. Now a little bit more for sure. I like to have friends at home and we play some pokers. But I'm playing at the Playground Poker here in Montreal. Actually, it's not really on Montreal. It's on the Indian Reserve, close to Montreal. But they've been one of my sponsors since a long time, and it's a little bit far now from my new home. But when I go there, I really enjoy it. I love poker a lot. I love just sitting there talking to people and just trying to read, the mind of people, what they have in their play. And yeah, I like to play on the internet too, but I like more, sitting on table and with real people. You can really feel, the tension, or you can really feel if they bluff something like that. So it's more real.
Oh, I gotta hang out with you one day. Do that because the one thing I can't do is I used to deal. I used to deal poker. We'll just simply say that it was for. I gotta be careful how I word this. For a bunch of. Can I just say Italians?
Oh, you can
Is that
say that
fair?
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, just for some Italians, and I would get paid every hand. Big hand comes in, they throw me a chip, throw me a chip, throw me a chip. By the end of the day, there's $500 in my pocket. The problem is they would smoke so much, I would just reek. I mean, I'd have to shower before taking a shower. So, anyways, yeah, we did some. I used to enjoy dealing. It was fun because I could sit there, but I'm not reading people. I could see what was happening, but I wasn't playing. And there's a big difference by playing online, playing on your
Oh
phone, to when
yeah.
you're doing it in person. It's night and day. You did mention golf. Vinny Fernando, you come on the live chat and you drop that question, you're gonna get me and Patrick to get into a fight right now. You know what? Screw it. Wait a second, Royce. Royce Sorio, what did you ride? Showdown. I rode a Suzuki Marauder, 750 or 850, if I'm not mistaken. You own a Harley. Well, yeah, low riders are awesome. But Vinny Fernando on the live chat, I think he's only got one option or one idea with this question. He's probably going to get you and I to fight. Is
Okay.
Patrick a hockey fan? Montreal Canadiens? Question mark.
Oh, that's my team for sure. I love.
This conversation is
It's
over. This
over.
podcast is over. We're done.
You know what? That's a fun thing. I went to the first game of the playoff here against the Rangers, and no, Rick Nash is one of my friends, so he gave me tickets, and a lot of people was asking me, so you're gonna root for the Rangers for sure. That was like the perfect scenario. The Montreal Canadiens win 4-3. And that's a hat trick for Rick Nash. That's a perfect scenario for me. But no, this is my team since I was a Nordic fan. For a long time. I used to live
Yes,
in
that's
Quebec
what I
City.
remember. Yeah.
Yes. But now, yeah, I have a couple of friends in the Montreal Canadian too, and no, I'm cheering for them for sure.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, I mean, if you watch this podcast long enough, you know that I'm a diehard Toronto Maple Leaf fan.
Yeah.
Always have been, always will be. But I have no expectations versus the Washington Capitals. I told friends of mine that listen, if they get knocked out 4 straight, I do not care. It's a young team. They need the experience. And then on Saturday, as we're watching the
Hey, they
UFC
are in
event,
playoff there. They're finally in
yeah.
playoff.
So exactly. So this is a completely different. I'm literally in arguments with very, very close friends of mine right now who are surface hockey fans who don't understand what a rebuild actually is. Yeah. And the Leafs are officially doing a real rebuild, not a bullshit rebuild that they've done for the past 40 years. This is legit. They bottomed out. They did what they could. They got Austin Matthews and blah, blah. Anyways, you can't explain this to people. Too. Yeah, oh, man, that guy there is just an absolute legend. Yep. And the F-bombs that he drops piss him off.
Yeah.
So we're watching the UFC on Saturday, and my phone's blowing up with so many friends letting me know what's happening every single play. And I'm like, guys, my priority would be to watch the Maple Leafs. My job is to watch the UFC. So I'm watching the UFC. I'll deal with it afterwards. So the UFC goes on, Patrick, and then we do the podcast right after. After every big UFC event or major UFC event, Sean Ross Sapp and I do the podcast. And as we start the podcast, I'm getting messages, first overtime. Second overtime has started, and now I'm doing the podcast. I'm literally, ladies and gentlemen, they're only watching or listening to the audio. I'm basically pacing it, or I'm going back and forth in my chair because I was so nervous. So I missed the whole game, Patrick. We come to an end with the podcast. We say goodbye to the fans. I shut everything off. I send off a tweet to inform everyone, hey, in case you missed it, here's a fantastic podcast. I go downstairs. I turn the TV on. 2.5 minutes later, the Leafs scored overtime.
All right, that was the second overtime, yeah.
Right? So, yeah, and you mentioned golf, by the way. You mentioned golf. I love golf. Golf is my other fishing, being on the jet ski, and golf. My son is number one, but golf. I absolutely love golf, as does Pearson, who, by the way, is an absolute mess when it comes to golf. He doesn't care. I mean, when you do your golf stuff, I mean, because you could take golf and apply it to MMA because you've got to be mentally strong to play golf. Little ball.
Yeah.
400 yards.
That's the hardest sport in the world. That's the hardest sport in the world. You know, that's a little ball, and you hit that ball with a stick that it's not straight. It's very, very hard. And I wanted to be a professional golfer when I was young, and I was playing at a very high level, and when I was in junior rank, and I don't know when or where, you know, I took the other road to go to become a MMA fighter, but I still play a lot of golf. You know, I was the only UFC fighter who got sponsored by the golf company. You know, I was sponsored by Callaway for a couple of years.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And that was awesome. And and I still playing golf. I think that's the best. Another happy place for me. You know, the best day for me, I'm going early bird. I hit the 18 holes. You know, I finish around 11:30. And I'm going on my boat for the rest of the afternoon. That's the perfect day for me. And I did that a couple of times, you know, last year. And for sure now I'm going to have time to do it now.
Hey, Jimmy Van, the owner of this site or all these sites, Pearson Golfs, iGolf, Cote Golfs. If you golf, there's 4 of us. And if it does happen, you are sitting with Pearson. Me and Patrick are sitting together because we're the responsible ones. Pearson.
We'll see.
There you go. Sean Pearson thinks he's Tiger Woods. I go up when I tee up, Patrick. I go through the motions. I put the golf across my waist, or the club across my waist. I make sure I line it up. I do my practice swings, blah blah. Or, you know, if we have to put something, you know, we've got to curve it around a bunch of trees and blah blah. I'm thinking of how I'm going to swing the club. Pearson literally walks up and
player. You're a slow player.
What's that? I want to make sure I don't embarrass myself, which I embarrass myself anyways. Pearson walks up. He's like, nah, Tiger Woods wouldn't do that. Just walks up and just boom, nails the ball. And this thing just flies. And I'm like, all right, whenever we play Scramble with Pearson, for those who don't know what Scramble is, it's best ball. Wherever the best ball lands, that's where you all take your next shot. Pearson, we just tell him, just put it out there, Pearson. Just get it out there. But he's a damn good golfer. He's just a mess. So, yeah, anyways, before we wrap up this podcast, because I'm sure you're a busy guy, we got some other stuff to talk about. The fans are talking about the ratings were a little bit low for the Fox broadcast. That's understandable, and they've made some really good comments because obviously they're up against the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball started, NBA playoffs, so we can't blame Demetrius Johnson and or the UFC. It is the timing of the year. I completely get that. Am I correct?
Oh, you're totally right. And that's why, you know, in October and September and something like that, there's not a lot of UFC because there's a baseball playoff. And now there's a hockey playoff, and it's for sure it's hard. But you'll see during summers they throw a shitload of UFC. That's just insane because they know they don't have any competition. During summer, yeah, baseball is gonna start, but it's not like playoffs. But during summer, there's a lot of almost a UFC every weekend, and it's gonna have a lot of an action.
All right, before we let you go, I need your thoughts. Thoughts. We'll start off with Rose Namajunas taking out the Karate Hottie. I wasn't surprised because I picked Rose Namajunas to win this fight because if you look at the caliber of opponents she's faced off against versus who the Karate Hottie's faced off against, I saw it. What I was surprised about with Rose, Patrick, was, oh my God, she's merciless. She did not give a shit about Karate Hottie. She went in there to destroy her.
Exactly, and she knew her pretty well. They have been training together a couple of years ago, and they know each other pretty well. And like you said, man, she went there just on destroying mode, and that was awesome. And you know what the thing is, when Watterson did the takedown in the first round, she liked that takedown, the hip throw, but they have to fix something that she always hold the head. And that's a very big mistake because that what happened, that's exactly what happened. It's if you stay on that position, that your opponent is gonna take you back. It's just gonna have to slip his head out, and it's already on your back. So when you do that position, you have to come back on the 100 kilos that they call, and just going back on your belly and taking a position on the side control, and taking position, and after that, improving your position or doing some ground and pound. But holding head like that, it's kind of rookie move. At that level, you're supposed to know that it's a very bad position after a nice throw like that. And she lost the position. After that, she tried a couple she tried a couple armbar, but nothing very, very serious. And it was a very, very big elbow from Namajunas in the first round that very changed the pace of Watterson. In the second round, the kick, was an amazing timing about the kick when they just disengage, kick to the head, and after that was just a question of time. But yeah, you're right, man. She went there very, very, in mindset that she's gonna destroy Watterson, even there if they're like kind of friends. So she's good. I like Namajunas a lot.
Yeah, I like Pat Barry better because he's crazy.
Yes, that was my second point. This is that's crazy. This it was a rumor that they weren't together anymore, but I think it's the rumor is false. Now we saw him in the corner.
I'll never forget an interview I did with Pat Cote and Rose. It's supposed to be for Sportsnet, 3-minute interview, Winnipeg. It was a 17-minute interview, and on a bunch of occasions, Rose just kept telling him, "You're a fool. Just shut up. You're a fool." The guy is a mess.
Pat Barry,
so funny. Pat Barry is so funny, and they were back and forth. Literally, it would be interview. She would leave. He would come in, and it would just I'm like, this is supposed to be a 3-minute interview, but if you want to keep talking, I'm going to keep going. So
he's unreal.
Oh, he's awesome. He's fantastic. He gets very emotional, and I love it. Before we let you go, Robert Whittaker. Now, I'm not saying I didn't. Okay, I'll say this. I didn't fully believe he was that good because I've been watching Robert since the Ultimate Fighter days when he won the Ultimate Fighter, and I always said this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with. What I didn't realize is that as he moved up in his middleweight career, and I looked at the top of the division, I said eventually he's going to meet his match. He's going to get hurt, and it's not going to be someone in the top 5. It'll be a little bit lower, and he just kept going, and then he fought Jacare. Yeah. And before the fight, Patrick, I said, "Look, man, Jacare is just listen. We got to be honest here. Jacare is going to take him down, and he's going to submit him." Well, Jacare did take him down, and Whittaker got up, and then Whittaker made him pay. Yep. And I said to Sean Ross Sapp, I said, you know what? I clap my hands. I bow down to your knowledge, Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful. You were absolutely correct. You've been correct. You've been a believer of Robert Whittaker for a long time, despite me being just sort of hesitant. I now believe in Robert Whittaker. This guy's fantastic.
The only thing Robert Whittaker had to do was putting doubt in the mind of Jacare. That's the only thing that they had to do, and he did that in the first round. He got taken down, but he stand up right away. And Jacare tried to take the back, and he did a very nice defense about it. And from that point, there was a doubt in the mind of Jacare. And you know what? Stylistically, for the takedown defense, Robert Whittaker was over 90% of the takedown defense too. So there's not a lot of people who did realize that he's really good to stay on his feet. And even if he got taken down by Jacare, it was like, half second he was back on his feet and defending himself. So as soon that he get out of the back control, the half back control of Jacare, that was a doubt in the mind of Jacare. And now you saw that Whittaker was able to pick him apart with the stand up. Because he was so not scared, but he had a doubt about the takedown, and he tried to box with Whittaker. And Whittaker was too fast for Jacare. Jacare is better with his boxing, but not at that level. He's very flat foot. He's not moving a lot, but you know what? It's on the ground. He's one of the best pound in the world. That's for sure. And a lot of people say that maybe it's too fast for Whittaker, to fight Jacare. This is maybe a mismatch. Listen, he was ranked number 6 before that fight. That was the time for him to fight, a top 5 guys. And it's just because now with George coming back in the middleweight division, it's kind of fucked up a little bit with the top 5, because Romero was supposed to fight. And now for the title, and now we don't know what's going to happen. Jacare wanted to stay active because he's not the next in line. That was Romero. We still don't know when George going to fight Bisping. So if he decides to stay at home, he could stay at home for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, because we don't know when the title fight was going to happen with George. So he decided to stay active, and I respect that. And people was not laughing about Jacare after that fight, but there was like, oh, we knew it. It's like, nah, you don't know shit. Seriously, nobody knew. Everybody's thought that it will be exactly like you said. It's going to take him down. It's going to just a question of time that he's going to find the right timing to take him down, and he's going to submit him. But man, my hats off to Whittaker. He was on 6 wins in a row, now 7. I think he's undefeated at a middleweight or since he moved back to middleweight. He's just like 6 wins in a row. He's at 7 wins in a row now. He's awesome, and we'll see what's gonna happen. Now look, Rockhold called him out, and we'll see. I don't know, but yes, he's kind of now he's not anymore. But before, he was kind of the sleeper of that division. Nobody was like, oh, Whittaker is a force. Whittaker is gonna be my next challenger. But he was 6 wins in a row, and he had some great wins. And now he just did a fantastic performance against one of the best in the business. So that was a really, really nice performance by Whittaker.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we say goodbye, don't forget tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, it is Elias Theodoro and yours truly on the Fightful MMA podcast. Patrick, do you have any experience with that guy?
With Elias?
Yeah,
for sure. I know Elias very well. We've been together in Tough, but before that, we met each other in Toronto, and we had like a dance off on the pizza place. And we're not drunk, but we had some feelings about some booze, and we start to dance in the middle of people in the pizza place, and we started doing a dance off, and that was pretty crazy. That was fun. And after that, when I saw him at Tough, that was great. We went in Thailand together to train over there. He came to Montreal to train with BTT with us too. So yeah, he's awesome. He's doing pretty well too. I hope he's gonna still doing pretty well in his career. He's a really nice guy. He's kind of like me. He's doing a shitload of things outside the octagon. He's building his brand, and I think that's a really smart thing.
All right, guys, and don't forget, for those of you that have been regular listeners or watchers or viewers of this podcast, we know that tomorrow, Elias, pants are optional, as are the shirts. We don't know if he's going to be wearing a red robe that either looks like something the Octagon girls would wear or Hugh Hefner would wear. We don't know if he's going to be in a hot tub. We don't know what city he's going to be in. So all I can do is tell you that tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, ladies and gentlemen, it is Elias Theodoro and I. It is often a surprise. I literally find out the moment we connect and before we go live. So,
but the hair will be there. The hair is always there.
Hashtag the main event.
Exactly.
Yes. He's the man. So Patrick, listen, we want to thank you very much. For those guys, don't forget, Patrick can be found on Twitter, Patrick_Cote, Instagram, Pat Cote MMA, and on Facebook, Patrick Cote. Make sure you look for that blue or white check mark. Patrick, we thank you very much. We look forward to having you on in 2 weeks because next week you are going away with the family. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe. And looking forward to doing that in 2 weeks again.
Beautiful. All right, guys, make sure you follow us at FightfulMMA.com FightfulMMA.com for your mixed martial arts news, at Fightful MMA on social media. Yours truly at Showdown Joe. Until tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Elias Theodoro. We have no idea where he's going to be or what he'll be wearing. I do always say, ciao for now.